let's begin. We saw the montage of you whispering in his ear repeatedly. What were you saying?
Well, I was just encouraging him to maintain the advice of invoking his Fifth Amendment. I think it's important for you and the public to know that the committee knew in advance of the hearing that he was not going to answer any questions. We have correspondence with him. We spoke to the staff yesterday. I've only been his lawyer for 5 days. It's been a wild ride. But for months, that committee has been told that if he were required to appear, he would invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege. I think they insisted on him coming, quite frankly, just to embarrass him.
At one point, you were going to actually say something in the hearing, correct? But they said, no, because you hadn't been sworn in. What did you want to say?
Well, it was like that moment, you know, Robert Duvall in The Godfather. I was going to stand up and say, Mr. Chairman, this committee owes my client an apology. It's a very frustrating position to be in, both for a lawyer who's an advocate and also a client who is in an unrelated matter under indictment, so I don't want him to answer any questions whatsoever. And yet you have members of Congress who I think are unencumbered by many of the facts trying to give him advice. Congressman Gowdy in particular was trying to convince him that he didn't have a Fifth Amendment privilege.
Well,
that's when I stood up.
You can answer some questions that won't incriminate you.
Yes, but I think, first of all, he's wrong on the law. Second, it's really not his business to give my client advice. It's my business to give my client advice, and that's when I rose. They did not want to hear from me because I think they did not want to hear what I had to say.
It's not unusual, though, for Congress, even when they're aware that people might not answer their questions, to call them down and put them in front of the public to make a point. And that the point was certainly made today that this was a young man who did not want to answer their questions. Now, he might have his reasons for doing so, but that's part of the public record as well.
It's part of the public record, but you can have that in the record by a statement in which he signs under oath, and then they can say he chose not to appear and answer any questions. Today was a show. Today was a demonstration that they can force you to appear. They can force you to publicly embarrass yourself by invoking your Fifth Amendment privilege. And to be perfectly candid with you, you know, Martin Shkreli, the one I'm getting to know very well, is a genius. He is a scientist.
Why do you call him a scientist?
Because that's what he is. I mean, he has figured out which are the orphan drugs that big pharmaceutical companies don't want to bring public and don't want to sponsor and don't want to underwrite. And what Martin Shkreli has done, what the public has not said with respect to Daraprim has only 3,000 people who are using it. All 3,000 take it only for 40 days, 2 pills a day, and then they are cured. He is saving lives, and there isn't a single patient who needs Daraprim who's been deprived of the drug because they could not afford the price increase.
All of that said, the facts being what they are, body language itself can speak volumes, and he was openly smirking and laughing and coming across as extremely dismissive and disrespectful of the setting that he was in. Is that in violation of your counsel to him? Were you disappointed in that?
You cannot change a person. You can advise a person, but it's impossible to physically change a person. Martin Shkreli is a very interesting person. He's very smart. He's self-schooled. He is intensely bright. And I think he understood that today was not about learning the facts about Daraprim. They had Ms. Retzlaff, who was prepared to testify, answer the questions.
From Turing Pharmaceuticals.
From Turing Pharmaceuticals, a woman who was extremely bright, well-versed. She did answer all of the questions. The only purpose of forcing him to show up was to do what they did, and he resented it. The good news is that he listened to me.
Hey, YouTube fans, I'm Landon Dowdy from CNBC. Thanks so much for checking out our channel. Here you'll find videos packed with all the info that you need to be smarter about your finances. Be sure and subscribe by clicking right here, and click on all the videos around me to see CNBC's original series, Young Money, Tech Bet, Kramer's Mad Money, and all the latest from CNBC.